What's up, everybody? This is Jacob Warren asking you to like, subscribe, and share. Dave needs this.
There you go, Jacob. Sounds weird hearing yourself, doesn't it?
There it is. Yep, it does sound a little weird. Threw me off a
I
little.
know. I don't like watching myself either. And so I picked the wrong profession. Do you go back and I'm sure you watch the entirety of all our podcasts each and every week, don't you?
Every week.
in slow motion with the transcription.
Right. No, yeah, it definitely is a little weird hearing your voice because that's just not what I sound like in my head. But obviously, that's whatever. Everybody else hears me that day, so it's normal.
You sound fantastic. You have the golden pipes of the team. There's no question about
No
it.
doubt about it. Yes, sir.
He is Jacob Warren. The Vol Report brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Toro, count on it. Jacob, this is the time of year where I would think you have a little bit more freedom, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what that means, and we used to call it summer days when back in the day when it seemed like there was a time where Tennessee, this is years ago, had some players that would get in trouble during the summer. But that hasn't been the case under Josh Heupel. And it's pretty impressive. The few infractions he've had haven't been really serious, and there have been so few of them. That sense of accountability, where does that come from?
That just comes from just the program, right? Just the culture of, what we're trying to do right now and where we're trying to go. Obviously, we need everybody, whether you're a starter or backup or fourth string, whatever it may be, we like truly need everybody to get to where we want to go. And so I think that mentality of just trying to take care of yourself and understanding that taking care of yourself also takes care of your team, right? I'm looking out for my other tight ends by taking care of all my business and making sure that I'm able to put out the best product on Saturday nights, Saturday afternoons, whatever it may be. And I would expect all of them to do the same. So I think it's kind of just the culture of this program and truly trying to do everything for each other, right? We don't want to let each other down. Also, you get to the point where you realize that things coming out on social media or in the news or whatever for someone getting in trouble and doing things like that looks bad on us, right? If someone on my team gets in trouble for doing something, then naturally the next time that maybe, right, if someone reads that story and doesn't know Jacob Warren, doesn't know anything about me, they could have that assumption about me that I am associated with that person, therefore I probably do the same things that they do. And so that's something that we're constantly trying to avoid and trying to break that stereotype of us getting in trouble and doing things we're not supposed to be doing and all that stuff.
How much of that starts in recruiting?
It does. I think it does start in recruiting, and we are trying to recruit and trying to get a certain type of person, right? I think that every time that at least every time I've hosted a recruit, you got to have that honest conversation with the coach of like, hey, like this guy does not fit in our culture. He is going to be a problem. He is going to cause issues or do whatever. But then you have guys that you go on visits and I get along with their parents and I get along with them, and it just seems like it's a really good fit, and they like hanging around the guys, and you could really see themselves fitting in. I think then that's obviously the guy that you kind of want to go for, and you can, obviously we're recruiting the best players we can, but you take a guy that will give his all and will truly try as hard as he can and cares about his teammates and doesn't get in trouble and shows up on time to everything. You take that guy 10 times out of 10 over a guy that has all the things that you want on the field. Most athletic guy can jump, run, catch, all that stuff, but just can't fit in with any of the other guys and doesn't do what the program's asking them to do. You kind of have to give and take there. So,
how often have you been a host in recruiting visits?
I mean, decently often. I think that there's times where, I'm needed, right, to do a visit just because, someone else can't do it or a lot of the other people can't do it. And then there's sometimes that the coaches really, want me to be the host, right? They just want, they understand who the recruit is. They know kind of how they are. And luckily we are pretty much our whole tight end room is like this at this point, but they want a host that's going to be able to talk to the parents and able to talk about maybe religion and talk about how, just mental health stuff works on the team, right? There's questions that parents have mostly that I feel like I've been pretty good at on visits is just dealing with parents, right? And parents have questions. Parents are concerned, and there's questions that parents won't ask coaches just because there's just it's different between asking a coach versus asking a player who really understands. And then recruits have questions that they only want to ask players, they don't want to ask coaches. So being able to just be real and honest and truthful and just kind of lay it out like, hey, this is how it is, and I love it, right? And that I want you to be a part of this. If this isn't what you want, then that's totally fine. But this is kind of what we do. We like to get them around the guys, and I rarely just host them just myself, right? Like I generally try to bring them around my friends, bring them around, the other guys on the offense if it's an offensive guy, and just kind of show them what we're all about. So
So I'm curious, has there ever been a guy that you got a bad vibe off early? And don't want any names, but I do want to ask you that. The Ball Report brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden. They've got the industrial and commercial mowers. You can come from Chattanooga, Nashville, and Cleveland. Man alive, it's worth the drive with their buying power. They'll save you a ton of money there in Cleveland, Tennessee. Go to Vassy.com to learn more. Toro, count on it. Jacob, has there been a time where you kind of scratched your head and you said, I don't know that he's a good fit for culture?
I mean, yeah, you run into guys like that pretty often, right? And I think that it stinks, right? Especially because you build a relationship with this guy, and it's amazing for him, right? And he is having a great time. Whatever, the family might be having a great time. But at the end of the day, is like, if that's, I got to be honest with the coaches, right? They ask me, and if it's the same deal in like recruiting, right? Um, and talking about the NFL, or even talking about high school recruiting. If someone were to come to my high school coach and they were asking about me and say, "Oh, there's not someone that you really should be recruiting," right? And my high school coach tells the college coach that, I'm straight A student, and I'm, amazing and respectful and do all this. I show up on time, and he lies for me. Now that just completely ruins my coach's credibility. And then now they're stuck with someone like me who just does not fit the program, and doesn't need to be there, right? So I think that lying and being dishonest just doesn't do much for anybody in this situation. So yeah, there has to be times where, I'm not going to bash the kid, but I'm gonna be like, hey, I just don't think that he fits in, right? I don't think he would get along well. I don't think he would enjoy it, right? Because it's just not. He didn't. If he doesn't enjoy his visit, right? Why is he going to enjoy being here? For real, doing the real thing. So yeah, there's times you have to be honest, but not many times has there been where I've just been like, yo, don't stay away from that kid. That's usually not what happens.
So you're, as a host, you're expected to give kind of a review, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially from, Coach Hype, right? I have a pretty good relationship with Coach Hype at this point. So if I see him in the hallways after he knows I just hosted one of our recruits or something, he's like, hey man, how'd it go? Like, tell me about it. And I was like, oh, well, there's things I can't tell you about, but then there's things that, that I will tell you about and how I felt about him and all that stuff. And yeah, you're kind of expected to kind of give a review and give your piece of because you're recruiting too, right? Like I turned into essentially a coach at that point whenever um, you host somebody, you're evaluating them on things other than just their film, right? Because I rarely have ever seen the film. I just know the person by who they are and who I meet. So
Has there been a player that you got a lot of stipulations here? You got a really good vibe on, you helped recruit and ended up at Tennessee that you look back and you say, aside from what I've done on the field
yeah,
and a leader, I helped this program by bringing that young man in.
yeah. I mean, there's a couple guys here now that I remember like being not there. This is not what I'm saying. Not the reason they came to Tennessee. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Not at all. That's not it. But man, played a really big role in me and my friends in doing that. And that one of them is Addison Nichols. Addison Nichols came on his official visit a while ago, and me and Hunter Salmon, a couple of our tight ends, and just our buddies really got around him and took him to the pool, and we hung out. We played volleyball. We just did things that we always do when we're just being ourselves. And I actually talked to his mom. I'm sure he wouldn't care if he knew this, but I talked to his mom at like the spring game or something, and she was like, "Hey, you really don't understand how much that day meant to him in his recruiting and just his decision to come here." You know what I'm saying? Like that really helped him a lot, and just being super comfortable coming here. And he just appreciates you guys so much. And she thanked us, and it was me and Hunter. It was a couple of us, but that's really cool to me, right? Because whether he was going to come here or not already is whatever, but just the fact that he voiced the fact that we had a serious impact on him, and he would probably tell you that too. He's like, "Yeah, you guys, I loved the day that when I got to hang out with you guys." So definitely, that's one of the big ones for sure.
That's pretty awesome. And it looks like well, he's definitely going to see the field in some shape, form, or fashion, but he might be the first interior offensive lineman if somebody goes down. How important is he? Even though he might not be on that starting lineup from day one, but how
Yeah,
important is he?
man, super important. I think that that's one of the biggest issues that man, it seems like almost every team has is depth at O line, right? And I think if you have guys like Addison, you guys guys like Parker Ball, right? There's a lot of names that not a lot of people really know, but even all the guys that we have rotating at tackle right now, just having depth in Gerald and then JJ and John, having Andre now, like just having numbers, having really solid bodies that can go in and plug and play and do all those things. Addison definitely adds to that just because he's really smart. Obviously, just a fun, like goofy guy, but also really is physical and knows how to go and make plays in the interior. So I think that he'll be just fine.
It is Father's Day weekend when we're having this discussion, and your dad, as everybody knows, played at Tennessee. The brief time I was around your dad, he was kind of soft spoken, but also quippy. He was funny,
Yeah.
and he had some one lines. How would you describe your dad for somebody that's never met him before?
Oh man. I think that's a good word. I never used that word quippy. Is that what you said?
Quippy. Yeah, you taught me. I can't remember the word you taught me, but quippy. Yeah, that's
What was I taught you? Uh, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But yeah, man, my dad is a people person, man. He is the most social and could talk to anybody, could sell anybody anything. Like truly, I think I mentioned on this podcast before, but truly, I get so much of just my ability to communicate and talk and connect and all those things, charm. Like I get all that stuff from him, and um, it's really cool watching him be able to kind of transition from um, being a salesman, right, and dealing with those clients all day and all this stuff to his home life. Where I mean, my dad's from Memphis, right, and so he grew up in Memphis and like still talks like, like he's from Memphis sometimes, right? And so his ability to flip the switch and be able to understand his audience and be able to connect with all different types of people, regardless of their background, who they are, how much money they have, like whatever it may be, has truly taught me a lot. Um, but yeah, man, just he's the guy, man. He really is. And when I was younger, it was like almost kind of embarrassing for him to say that, right? It was like, oh, my dad's not cool, whatever. Well, yeah, my dad's cool, man. And all my friends, like,
your dad is cool.
yeah, he's cool. And when my friends meet him, they're like, dude, like, what's Big James up to, right? What's he doing? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, you could ask him if he wants, but man, he loves interacting with the young guys too. And I swear he's 23 at heart too. So we get along really well.
Yeah, I think maybe he and I have that in common. If there's one story that you would best encapsulate him, is there anything back in the day that you can recall?
I mean, dude, honestly, like, I don't know. Stories kind of come in and out, and you kind of you forget them and you remember them. But man, I just remember like he would be at work all day, right? And this is something that I also very, very appreciative of, and have come to realize as I've gotten older. But man, he would be at work all day, right? Like working from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6:30 at night, 7 o'clock sometimes, working at the dealership. And he would come home, and I'd be like, dude, let's go out and throw the ball or hit the tackling dummy or do whatever. I used to ride dirt bikes when I was younger, and he was into riding bikes and stuff when he was younger too. So of course he's going to support it. And man, we would sit out in the front yard, and I had a little 50cc little motorcycle. And he would sit there with his phone and just time me on his phone how fast I could get from one end of the yard to the other end. And it was probably the same time every
Every
single
time.
time. I was there for hours trying to beat my time and all this stuff. And he was always so supportive, you know what I'm saying? Like just always doing whatever I wanted to do because he knew that it was important for to have that connection, right? And to have that relationship with him. And so man, just man, always being there, always being funny, always being ready to crack a joke, but always definitely always supportive and always actually there for me and my brothers.
Dads have to be motivators too.
Yeah,
Sometimes that can create some headbutting. That ever
for sure.
come up?
So my dad, I think also this is my mom a lot too, is my mom and dad have always been very like, dude, if there's something you want to do, like you got to give it 100% or you got to get out, right? Like you're not going to quit, but you're going to finish the season. And if you don't want to do it next season, if you're going to be, kind of in and out, like not really wanting to do it, then just don't do it. Right. Like that's kind of just how we were raised, right? If you're going to start something, you're going to finish it and you're going to give your 100% the whole entire time. So yeah, there's obviously times where, you know, I was young, right? I was a kid. I didn't understand what hard work meant. I thought I did, but whatever. And so, yeah, he's like, man, come on, like just encouraging, right? And whatever. But it was never like demeaning. It was never, um, you know, rude. It was never hateful. It was never anything like that. And I truly appreciate that. But now it's cool because I'm older now and I've played a lot of ball and in a similar position that he was, right? Like he played a lot of ball too. So we're able to talk now and have real conversations about just like games and stuff. And there'll be some games where like I'll just have a bad day, right? Or I'll just be like bad day blocking or, wasn't getting open or whatever it may be. And the fact that he knows so much about the game and we can have conversations on a deeper level about football is really cool. But it also opens up the gate to be like, hey, say, hey man, what happened on that, that third down whenever just things like that, right? And again, it's never demeaning and it's never, him getting on me. It's just truly like him wondering and wanting me to get better. And like we talked the other day and he was like, hey man, had a buddy that was looking at some film, from like last season or something. And he told me this about your footwork and about this. And go back and look at this game and tell me what you thought and tell me what you were seeing. And I'm like, dude, the game happened last year. And like, he's still watching, right? He's still looking. And I think that it's great because I know he supports me. I know he's really proud and he cares a lot about it.
When did you become a better athlete than your dad?
Oh, a better athlete?
Because I can remember with my
Yeah.
dad, it was a basketball game in the rain, and I was like
Okay.
16, and I won for the first time, and we never played again. That was the end of
Never played
basketball.
Yeah. Dude.
By the way, I can still beat my son, just for the record.
Oh, for sure. Right. I don't know, man. I wouldn't say I can remember a specific story of a time I beat him in something or whatever, but I do remember it was one of the first times when I realized, and I think he realized that I was getting bigger than he was, and he was kind of lose. He lost a lot of weight since he played, right? He was playing at like 310, 315, and he's probably about 245, 250 now. And so obviously as I'm getting bigger, I think I outgrew him. Like height wise, he wouldn't admit it, but probably a few years ago, when I got to college, I was taller than him. He'll never admit it. He still won't admit it. He'll say it's the hair, or I just got a long neck. You know what I
He's
mean?
gonna
Or
start wearing lips in his shoes.
yeah, or I got big shoes or something. Like he'll never actually admit it. But I think he's starting to kind of come around because I'm getting a little bit bigger too, right? I weigh more than him. I'm taller than him, and then pictures of us or whatever. And every single time that we take a picture together, I gotta show him. Be like, look at that. He's like, man, you got the big shoes on, whatever. So, no stories would be like actually beating him and whatever. But I think it's been funny and kind of a little joke that we got going back and forth about how much bigger I'm getting than he is.
That's good stuff. He is Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker. The Vol Report brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden. Man alive, it's worth the drive there in Cleveland, Tennessee. Check them out. This has been a presentation of Off Thug Sports.